Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2014 Ram 2500, we're going to be showing you how to install the Aries motorized running boards. But before we get into that, why don't we just take a minute, check these out, and make sure they're what you're looking for. A lot of times with these bigger trucks, they're not the easiest thing to get in and out of, especially on ones like this. They're lifted up, have big tires and everything else. And, it's not the funnest thing in the world to have to hop up in and out of there all the time to get in and out of the truck. And so a setup like this is really gonna make that a little bit easier on you. And I think they look cool too, especially with these bigger trucks. You got kind of your standard running boards. Those aren't really gonna do a whole lot. They'll drop down a couple of inches, but really not give you a ton of help there. And a lot of times those end up just kind of getting in your way anyway. You just kind of jump right over them. But with these, they don't look funny and they're not going to hang down super far whenever you're driving. But when you go to open up that door, this part's going to drop down, make it super manageable. I mean, it's probably only about a foot off the ground there. Gives you a good platform to step on and make it much easier to get in and out of the truck. And not to mention, there's hardly any delay either. These things are super fast. They come right down, go right back up, and seem like they work pretty good. If you do end up deciding to go with this running board, or really any running board for that matter, one thing I want to stress on is make sure you enter in through our fit guide your correct truck information. And more or less what I mean by that is what type of cab you have, because a lot of people mess this up, and it's easy to. All the terms kind of blend together, if you will. So in this particular truck, you got your mega cab like we have here, where you have the storage space behind here, your crew cab and everything in between. So, and they're all a little bit different to fit that exact truck. So, double check what you own and go from there. Make sure you get what you need the first time. As far as the construction quality of these, they are well built, mostly aluminum. So you're not going to have to worry about them getting chewed up from salt spray or, weather or anything like that. They hold a lot of weight. They got really good capacity. There's 3 attachment points that actually hold all these on. And I'm probably 185 pounds and, working this over pretty good. Doesn't feel flimsy or anything along those lines. So, if you and your buddy hop on here at the same time, really shouldn't be any issues there. They also give you a nice little LED light here that goes on the running boards. That way, whenever you open up the door, it illuminates. Not a game changer by any means, for me at least, but it is cool to have. It's nice that they include that and, help you see a little bit easier at night. They're also going to give you a switch that you can mount up here inside of the cab to actually be able to turn the running boards off and on. And a lot of people are probably wondering what that's for. What we do here at the shop a lot, if we get these in or another vehicle that has motorized running boards and you go to put it on a lift, you don't want to open the door to get out of the vehicle or work on it and have that running board crash into the lifters or anything like that. So if you're servicing your truck, not a bad idea. Turn them off. That way they won't deploy when you open and close doors. You're not going to have to worry about damaging anything. Steps are going to have kind of a built-in safety feature, if you will. So let's say if you are working on it and you do happen to forget to turn them off, or if someone's back here and you're positioned weird or anything along those lines, and you go to open the door, if you're right up against these steps, they're going to try to come down, and that's it. They're not going to keep trying to continue to force down and drop down and everything. So it'll feel that pressure, stop, and you're not going to break your step or anything like that. So that's good. It's not going to continue to keep trying to jam itself down and hurt somebody or damage itself. So at the end of the day, actually a really nice set of motorized steps. These things are really well built. To be honest with you, I'm usually not a fan of aftermarket motorized steps. I do like these though. A lot of the ones that I've done in the past don't drop out of, they don't actually drop out of the running board, if you will. A lot of the other ones that I've done are kind of more simulate factory type ones that kind of fold down, and then fold back up. Those are usually a huge pain. You can't ever get them timed right or anything like that. With these, you don't have to mess with any of that stuff. You know, essentially it's just like installing a running board, a regular running board, and with the step being integrated inside there, you know, there's really no adjustments or anything. I think it's just a much better design and one that actually works how you want it to, which is the main goal, right? As far as the installation goes, not too bad. I mean, as far as bolting these up and everything, pretty straightforward. There is quite a bit of wiring though. You know, thankfully they made their harnesses decent, you know, nice connectors and things like that. So they try to make it easy on you, but you can only go so far. You're gonna have to route all them wires, run them up to the doors and everything else. So it's gonna take you a little bit of time, but if you'd like to see how that's done, feel free to hang around. We'll go ahead and start on them now. To begin our installation, we're gonna be on the side of our truck here, and the first thing that we need to do is mount up all of our brackets. So there's gonna be a total of 3, one in the front, the middle, and then towards the back. So we'll go ahead and start with the front right here in this area. Here's where our attachment point is gonna be in the front, and there's 2 ways you can bolt these up. If your truck has the weld nuts in the frame, like ours does up here, you're not gonna need to use the brackets. There's some other brackets that can go behind there, which our truck actually, the middle attachment point doesn't have the weld nuts, so we get to see both and how they would work depending on your situation. But if there are weld nuts, I do suggest spraying them out with some penetrating oil, coming in with a brush like that, cleaning out any junk that might be inside of there. And then the brackets are all going to be the same. So the way these are going to work, these will line up with these holes, and then these smaller holes here are going to line up with the holes in our pinch weld. So you're going to take, I'm going to set this down for a sec. What you're going to do, if you have the weld nuts, you can take this bolt, all right, a split lock washer, and a flat washer. And then they give you some anti-seize, which I'm going to put a little smudge on the threads there. This is going to line up. Take the bolt and get this started and tight. Same combo, hardware combo for this one. For the 2 holes that go through our pinch weld, they're going to take a smaller bolt and a flat washer. And then once this is pushed through, it might be a little tricky to see, but once it's pushed through there, you'll put on another flat washer and then a nylon lock nut. So you have to have a little patience with these just because there's not a ton of space here to get your hand up there and work, but we'll get that through. And then get the hardware started. Once the front bracket's on, you can continue to move towards the back of the truck, and then here, this is about dead middle. This is where our other attachment point's gonna be. You can see we got these openings and then the 2 holes in the pinch weld. Like I said, this one doesn't have the weld nuts in it. So what you'll do, if in this case, is remove that tape. Then there's this piece here, like a nut plate. And this will slide in there and then actually line up there with them holes. And pretty straightforward. That's the only thing different about our front bracket. You're going to use bracket and the same hardware combination to get this one going. With the middle one done, I just continue to move down towards the back of our truck and got our 3rd bracket mounted up the exact same way that we did the others. And with this side done, you're going to repeat the same process over on the other side of the truck. Now under the hood, we can start to work on some of our wiring. So there's a small separate harness that has a fuse holder in it, and that's going to need to get connected to the battery. So in our case, this truck has a lot of other accessories, so there's really no good standard post to tap into. But we can just go right on the connector itself. Issue is though, these nuts don't come completely off, and that's just the way they're designed to be. So there's a way around that. First and foremost, so make sure the fuse is not installed. We're going to be doing that at the very end. But you're just going to take your ring terminal and cut a small gap in it. About like that should work. Come to here. This is a 10 millimeter. We're going to loosen this up. And you're able to kind of sneak that ring terminal in like that. And then just tighten it back down. And you're going to do the same exact thing for the black wire on the negative battery terminal. That wire is going to need to go into the cab of our vehicle. So right here in this area on the driver's side, there's some factory grommets you can use. Like I said, we have other accessories on this truck already utilizing them. So there's this plastic panel here that I just drilled a hole through. Worked out real good, and able to push our wires through that into the inside of our truck. Inside of the truck, here's where our wiring comes out. And you want to make sure to zip tie it up out of the way from, you know, your moving steering column and things like that. But we're just going to let this hang for now. And since we're right here under the dash, you can go ahead and mount up your switch bracket, which is this piece here. You don't have to put it here. You can put it wherever you want, really, but this is a good spot, I thought. I just pulled out this factory screw, held the bracket up, and tightened it back down. Now what we're able to do is remove all of our door entry thresholds. So we'll do these on the front and the back doors. These usually just pop right up. And take a trim tool or a flathead screwdriver and just kind of work underneath them. Pull them out of the way and set them off to the side. Now we can move over here to the passenger side of our truck in the front door here. And we're going to be working right here by our latch or our striker for the door, and we need to mount up the sensors. This is a sensor, and you're going to do this on all four doors, right? On the driver's side, these are just going to be flipped the other way around. That way the wires that come off them will go towards the inside of our truck. But clean off the area. They give you some alcohol swab pads. Wipe all this down. There's two-sided sticky tape that goes on the back of these. Push them right into place. This has sticky tape on it too. You can push that into place. And that's going to go to, those are going to have connectors on the end of them, right? And on the front doors, you're going to take, they give you an extension harness. It's maybe about a couple foot long, just a red and black wire. On the front doors, just plug that in. And over here on our passenger side, we're going to take this wire and run it right towards the back. Here's our red and black wire, our extension running towards the back. And then this will plug into our main harness, right? So if you look at the instructions, there will be a diagram, but this is going to plug into the that connector there. That main harness I just kind of have sitting on our back seat now, and I just kind of wrapped it up through here, you know, which we'll see in a minute. And then same deal, our sensor here comes up through there for our back door, runs and plugs into this connector here on our main harness. Like I said, that harness, I just have it running essentially just up and through our back seat there. So with our wiring harness running kind of up and behind our seats here, the big main plug, I have that connected to the computer box, and this I just use a self-tapping screw to secure it down to this metal bracket, I guess you could say. And then, so if you follow the harness along, it breaks off, and you have another harness coming off of it. There's going to be two wires that end up coming out of here. These are going to go to the outside of our vehicle, so I have this running kind of underneath of our back seat here. To get those wires outside of the vehicle, I have them just running through a hole that I created and pushed them down to the outside. If you have a grommet, a factory plug or something that you can use close by, that's more than acceptable. In our case, we did not have one that was usable. So like I said, I had to cut the carpet and then drill a hole. And with that said, it's easier seeing underneath the vehicle. So let's just check that out real quick. Underneath, here's a better look at where our wires came out. And so what I had to do was use a 1-inch hole saw, drill a hole, and then push your wires through. And then they give you these grommets, so you can push the grommet over the end of your connectors one at a time, and then slide that grommet up and pop it into place. That way these aren't rubbing on bare metal. And then I took it a step further. I just took some RTV silicone and kind of packed it in around there just to keep everything completely sealed up. Back in the cab, our harness is going to run over to the passenger side, or I'm sorry, the driver's side. And same concept as the other side. Where it breaks off, it's going to go underneath our seat. And we did the same exact thing. We drilled a hole from the bottom up and dropped our wires down. Underneath the truck, this is where our wires came down, and again, you use that same technique. Put the grommet through there, push it up into place, and use the RTV sealer to keep everything sealed up. Back up top, so the rest of our harness, I just pushed through our paneling there, and this connector, that's going to get hooked up to the sensor that we put in our door jamb. That there, just like we did on the other side, you know. So clip that right in. This connector, I took the extension that has the red and black wires just like the other side, plug that in. So that'll run to the front, as well as the remaining portion of our harness. Just kind of tuck that along through here and up to the driver's seat area. The harness, like I said, continues up, and then this part of the harness here has these pre-attached bullet type connectors. Those will actually get hooked up to the wires that we ran inside earlier that come from the battery. So straightforward, red to red and black to black. The rest of the harness I just kind of have tucked up under here where it kind of loops up, and I ran it through our switch bracket. So there's a total of 3 wires, 2 reds and a black one. On the switch, you're going to have 2 silver connectors like this one. So the red wires are going to get connected to the silver colored terminal. Then you're going to have a brass colored one, and the black wire is going to go there. If these are all pre-attached, right, these ends, if the one that you have pre-attached is too small and won't clip over this, they do give you this adapter. So you just plug it in essentially and plug that on. That was how ours was. I have these laying around. I just figured I'd change it, and that way it eliminates, you know, some connection points there, some failure points. But they do give you that. So that'll just plug onto it, and then we can essentially just push our switch into place there. Underneath of our dash now, where our button kind of is, our switch, there's going to be one more black wire. It's going to have a pre-attached terminal on it, and that's going to need to get grounded. So on a ton of spots around here, I just used the metal part of our body here, kind of by our kick panel, and use a self-tapping screw to secure that terminal down. Now that we have our brackets on and our wiring harness all in place and routed and hooked up like it needs to be, we can grab our running boards and start to focus on getting them installed. With our brackets all set up and our wiring pretty much wrapped up, now we can actually get the running board on. So there's going to be a track in it, and you're going to get these guys here. These just slide in, so you have one for the back, the middle, and the front. Those just work right into that track, and I'm just going to space them apart evenly. That way they're somewhat close when we go to actually set this on our brackets. Now with an extra set of hands, you can actually get this on. These are side specific, so check your instructions, but The wiring connector that's on these should be at the back. It's kind of as a reference, but we'll line up our running board here at the bracket, and you want to kind of start at the top and let it kind of drop down onto the bracket and then roll it in to the areas where our bolts will pass through. Here's where our hardware goes through the bracket, and on all of them you're to take a flat washer, put that on, and a nylon lock nut. And we're going to get all these started hand tight. One of the attachment points at the very back of our truck is going to be a little bit different. So when I get done with this front one and the middle one, we'll show you what we got going on back there. For this post here, I'm going to take this bracket that they give you. This is for the LED light, and just slide that over with the flat washer on, and then the nut. And when we go to tighten this down, all this stuff down eventually, at this point we can kind of position that light how you want it. So this is the light here. Unscrew that nut, slide it up through the bracket. Now we're able to snug our hardware down. You want to make sure that the running board is how you want it positioned on your truck, because you can move it front and back a little bit. So I just eyeballed where I think it would work best, and now we're ready to snug down. So I like to start in the middle, and I'm going to do the bolts that actually hold the running board to the brackets on first, and then we can move on to the brackets. So go ahead, take my 1/2 inch and snug them down. Once you have those bolts snugged up, holding the running board to the brackets, at that point you can then come back and snug up all the hardware, you know, for the actual brackets. And once all that is done, you can come back with a torque wrench and tighten down all the hardware to the amount specified in the instructions. With everything torqued, now we can get them plugged in. So the cable coming out of the running board, it's a red and yellow wire. That connector will plug into the cable here that has the red and black wire. So you really can't mess these up. They only plug in one way. Get that clipped in, and then this cable here has a red or pinkish colored wire and a brown one. That is going to plug into our LED light. What we can do now, take the magnets that they give you, and we're going to place these on the inside of our door jamb. And the whole point of these is to have these in line with those sensors that we stuck to the door jamb, the other door jamb there. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. Looks like about like that'll do. I'm going to do that on all 4 doors now that we have the running boards installed and plugged in and everything. And from there, we can make sure everything works. We'll get power to our running boards, come back to your fuse holder, take the included fuse, place that into the holder, and close up that dust cover. With the fuse in and our switch under the dash turned on, we can open up our doors, make sure the boards work. So that one comes out, close it. We can check our other door here. And I'm just making sure the magnets are placed right, which that one open up just like it should. As long as it closes, now we can more or less mark and permanently attach our magnets, that way they don't shift on us. To more or less permanently mount these up, I just traced it before I took it off, and then just took some of the included sticky tape, and we're just going to pop it right there in place. And I'm going to do that same thing for all 4 of our doors. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Aries motorized running boards on our 2014 Ram 2500.